Today in the Joy of Editing, it's TK Friday. It's time for another full edit. Sit back, relax, and stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. It is TK Friday, and thank you for tuning in. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We're doing a full edit on this image I'm calling Earth, Water, and Sky. This image comes to us from Andres Juliao. Thank you, Andres, for the use of your image. Now, as always, you can download this image and the PDF notes. Just go to the description of the video, click more, scroll down through. You'll find Dropbox links for both the image as well as the PDF notes. If you have an image you would like me to edit on a TK Friday, scroll down even further. You're going to find a Contact Me link. Contact me, and we can discuss doing one of your images on a TK Friday. If you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, I'll have links in the description below this video that'll take you over to Tony Kuiper's web store. You can pick up the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. There's training videos. You can save 15% off your entire purchase. Use my promo code DK15. There's also a bunch of free panels over there you can pick up. And don't forget, there's also the TK Magic Mixer. It's great for black and white conversions and working with color images. It's only $10. You can pick that up. And again, all of Sean Bagshaw's great courses you can find over there as well. And again, use my promo code DK15, save 15% off your entire purchase. When you use my promo code, I make a small commission, and this helps me to keep these videos coming your way. So thanks for using my promo code. I really appreciate it. Well then, let's go ahead and get started. Now, as always, I'm starting out here in Lightroom Classic. I'm using a linear profile for Andre's camera. After I apply the profile, I click Auto, and then I make sure I'm not clipping my white and black point. I want a basically flat image going into Photoshop, because in Photoshop, I'll do all the developing on the image using the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. Now, as far as detail, no sharpening. I'm using the AI noise reduction in Lightroom for this image. As far as lens corrections, I always check on remove chromatic aberration, enable profile corrections. Now, I did do a slight crop in this image. I just took a little off the top, as you can see. And now we're ready to send this image into Photoshop and get started. I'll just right-click on the image, come down to Edit In, and click on Edit in Photoshop 2025. Here we are in Photoshop, ready to get started. Now, always for my first step, I like to do a balance and contrast adjustment on both the sky and the foreground. And what that is all about really is, I just want to bring a harmony to this image. I want the sky and the foreground to look like they all belong together. And then I just want to build up some contrast in the image, because remember, I took a very flat image from Lightroom into Photoshop, so I want to build up some contrast and again add some balance to the image. I'll use one of David Tillett's example Photoshop actions that came with the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, and these Photoshop actions were made using TK9 button clicks. Now, when you download the PDF notes, it'll show you how to manually set this all up, but one click of the B&C action sets this all up for you, apart from adjusting the color grading tools. I'll click my B&C landscape Photoshop action, and note I have a foreground adjustment layer, a sky adjustment layer, and then I'll use the shadow, midtones, and highlights to make adjustments here. The midtone adjustment will be to add the balance to the image. In other words, how light or dark I make the foreground compared to the sky. I'll use the shadow button and this brightness slider to bring contrast to the foreground. Let me show you how we do this. I'll start out by clicking on the midtone button, and I am on the foreground layer. Also note the mask for the foreground has a midtones 3 applied to it, and for the sky layer, the mask has a midtones 3 applied to the sky. And the reason that's there is just to protect me from clipping shadows and highlights. In other words, losing detail in shadows and highlights, just in case I go too far with my adjustments I can't clip. And that's a good thing. I'm on midtones, so what I want to do is take this brightness slider and lighten up these midtones. And I want to go to right there, plus 27. I also want to slightly warm up the midtones in the foreground. Notice my cursor. Anywhere I click on this color wheel, I will drop a color grade. I'll click here, and that warms up the foreground a little bit. Now I'm going to click on the shadow button, and now we'll add the contrast. I'll take the brightness slider, and we'll start to drag it to the left, right there, minus 27. And now I'll click on the highlight button, and I just want to open up the highlight some. I'll drag the highlight slider over to right there, 31. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. And now we're going to go and click on the sky layer and we'll do some adjustments here. I'll click the midtone button and I'll darken the sky a little bit. I'll take the brightness slider, drag it to the left to right there, -17. Now let's click on the highlight button. I'll drag the brightness slider to the right to lighten the highlights to right there, +41. Now I'll shut off this layer. Here's before and here is after. And now on either the combo or CX panel, click this button. We'll see the before. We started out here and now we're at this point and we're off to a good start. Coming up next is something I always like to try after the opening balance and contrast adjustments, and that is mid-tone contrast. Let me show you how we do it. I need to get to the multi-mask panel. The color grading tool's in the way. Just click this X. It closes the color grading tool. Nothing changes on color grading layers. Click this button to get a curves adjustment layer, and then come to the presets, and you're going to notice a drop-down menu here. Click on it, and we have a bunch of these different curves presets. A lot of them are for contrast. I always like to try this one first, medium contrast. You can change it if it isn't working, but for most cases, it is the right one. Now, the contrast is really strong, but remember, I only want it in midtones, so here's what we do. Come to the combo or CX panel, click this button to put a black hide-all mask on that layer. Then we're going to come up to the multi-mask panel, click this button to go into adjust layer mask. And this is really great because remember, I want to use midtone masks to target midtones. So we have 3 different midtone masks. We have midtones 1. It's a mild form of a midtone mask. Then we have midtones 2, which is a stronger form. And then we have midtones 3, which is the strongest. They're all midtones, but they vary in strength. In this case, I think midtones 2 is just perfect. And I love that midtone contrast. It gives you a nice little pop of color and a nice little boost of contrast only in the midtones. I'm done with the adjust layer mask panel, so I can click the X. Now, I only want to have this midtone contrast in the foreground, so I'm going to come to the combo or CX panel, click the layer mask calculator button, and then you could click sky and subtract it, or click foreground and intersect it. And now we have midtones 2 intersected with the foreground. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. I think it's a little too strong, so come to your layer opacity and just drag it back some. And I'll take mine back to right there, 70%. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. And after a midtone contrast, I feel like my midtones get a little dark. So let's lighten up those midtones a little bit. And here's how we can do it. There's a new feature in TK9 version 3. If you'll hold your shift key down and click on the screen, the SCR button on the combo or CX panel, you'll get a screen brush, which is a curves adjustment layer with a black hide-all mask with the screen blend mode applied to it. The screen blend mode is for lightening. Now, I want to lighten the midtone, so I can use this layer to do it. Here's what I'll do. Come to the multi-mask panel, click this button again to go into the adjust layer mask panel. And here we could try different luminosity masks. Now I want to work in midtones, but what if I wanted to lighten up my darkest shadows? I could click like darks 5 and lighten up my shadows. In my case, I want to lighten midtones, so let's try midtones 1. Here's midtones 1. Here's midtones 2, way too strong. Here's midtones 3. Of course, it's going to be really strong. I want midtones 1, so I'll click on midtones 1. I can click the X to get out of here because I don't need that panel now. I only want this in the foreground, so we'll click on the layer mask calculator button. This time I'll click on sky and click minus to subtract out the sky. Here's before, here's after. Now that's way too strong, so I'll take the opacity. I like to take it the whole way off and then just kind of build it up slowly and stop where I think it looks right. And I think I'm going to take it to right there, 50%. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to leave it at that. Coming up next is a TK action. I'm going to use the soft pop action, which enhances contrast, saturation, and sharpness. And I think that'll look really good on the foreground. It'll pop the color a little bit, give us a little bit of sharpness and detail. Let's try it. If your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the combo or CX panel. Look for soft pop. Give that a click. This is a smart object layer. I'm going to shut this off. Here's before and here's after. See the nice detail and the pop of color, the little extra contrast. I don't like it in the sky, so I'll click on the layer mask calculator button. We'll click sky and we'll click minus to subtract out the sky. Now here's the before and here's the after. I think it's a little too strong, so I'll take the layer opacity and we're going to pull it back to right there, 80%. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Isn't that nice? That little bit of detail, that pop of color. I really like it. Now, as I said, this is a smart object layer. And if you look at the combo or CX panel, see the red around this button right here? This is your smart object button. You can make a layer into a smart object by clicking this, but the red indicates this is a smart object layer. Now, you could double click on Gaussian blur or curves and make adjustments there if you need to. But if you're happy with everything and you decide you don't need to make any readjustments, I have some information up on the screen for you that you can pause the video and read reasons why you may want to rasterize a smart object. Here's my tip for rasterizing a smart object. Hold down your Shift key and click this button right here, and you rasterize your smart object. The next thing I want to do is adjust the different zonal ranges of this image, and this is a new feature in TK9 version 3. What I'm going to do is hold down my Shift key, and I'll click this button right here. And when I do, I have a brightness contrast adjustment layer, actually 5 of them, that are targeting different zones of this image, zones 1 through 5. Zone 1 is the darkest zone. Zone 5 is the lightest zone I can adjust. Each one of these layers is targeted by a blend diff adjustment for that zonal range that applies to that layer. And this is something interesting. You see this double arrow magenta button. If you click it, you can see where that zonal range is hitting right there. That's zone 1. Make sure you shut it off. This is just a visual aid for you before you make your adjustment. Now, if I go to zone 2 and click on the double arrow magenta, you can see where that zone hits. I'll shut it off. We go to zone 3. You can see where zone 3 hits. Go to zone 4. You can see where zone 4 hits. I'll click the double arrow magenta button to shut off that overlay. And now let's go to zone 1 and start making adjustments. Now, the way I do this, I'll start with brightness. I'll move it to the right, move it to the left, and I'm looking down here at the bottom where that zone hits, right? And I decided not to use brightness. I'll just double click right here and reset that. And now let's try contrast. I'll drag this slider to the right to increase the contrast in zone 1. And I took it to 30. I'll shut this layer off. Look down there. Here is before and here is after. Next, I went to zone 2 and tried some adjustments and found that they weren't really that helpful. And so I'll just shut off this layer by clicking the eye. Then I'll click on zone 3 and I'll adjust the brightness and I'll take it to right there, 6. And then I played with contrast, but I decided just to use the brightness. And now we'll go to zone 4. I'll click on zone 4. I'll click the double arrow button to see where that zone hits. Okay, so we're getting this area right in here, back in here. Let me shut off the overlay by clicking this button again. Now I want to lighten that up a little bit, so I'll drag this slider to the right over to right there, 10. And now let's try increasing that contrast a little bit, and I'll take it to the right there to 15. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Oh, I really like that. And now we'll go to zone 5, the lightest zone. And if we click the double arrow button again, we can see where that zone hits. See, it's going to get this area back in here and some of these light areas in here. Let me click this again to shut off the overlay. And now what I want to do is lighten that up. So I'm going to take the brightness slider to the right. See how that area lightens up? And I want to take it to right there, 40. Now we could try the contrast. We can increase or decrease. I'm just going to double click and reset that. I just want to lighten it up. Now you'll notice all 5 of these zones are in a group. I'm going to click on the group to make it active. I'm going to shut off the group. Here's before and here's after. And I'm really happy with these different zone adjustments. Now you'll note that I have this one layer right here. I could leave it. It's really not taking up much file space. But if I want to get rid of it, any hidden layer you can get rid of very easily. On the combo or CX panel, see the lightning bolt, give that a click, and any hidden layer just gets deleted. Just like that. You might have 10 hidden layers that you're not using. That one click gets rid of them all. After adjusting the zones, next up I want to adjust the color luminosity of the different colors of this image. And to do that, I'll use a TK action. On the combo or CX panel, click a TK button if your actions aren't open. My actions are open on my CX panel, so I'm looking for color loom. Click on that. And now we can adjust how light and dark all of these different colors are. And I'll start out with my reds, and if I move this slider to the right, I'll lighten reds, or I can move it to the left and darken reds. And we could do that for all the different colors like yellows and greens, cyans. I'll pause the video right now. I'm going to look at my PDF notes and put in the values for all these different colors that I came up with for my original edit, and I'll get right back and show you the result. I'm back. Now, the only colors I adjusted were red and yellows. Now, this is before. Let me turn on the color luminosity layer, and here's after. Again, before and after. And I really think this helps this image here, but just reds and yellows was all I adjusted. The next thing I did was gave the overall image just a very slight increase of contrast, just to pull it all together. And to do that, I went to the multi-mask panel, clicked on this button right here to get a curves adjustment layer, come to the presets, click on the drop down, and click on linear contrast. It's a really minimal S-curve. So it's a very slight contrast increase. I'll shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. I really like this slight increase of contrast over the entire image because if you recall, most of the contrast adjustments I made was to the foreground, but now this ties the whole image together, at least speaking in terms of contrast. Now, as I study the image, I'm looking at the shadows in the mountain and the foreground. I just want to darken them a bit to add some more visual impact to this image. I'll start by creating a mask to target those shadows. I'm going to click on this zone mask button, and you see this dark shadow tone right here. I'm going to click OK. But I need to refine this mask. What I want to do is take this slider. I'm going to drag it to the left a little bit to really target those shadows, maybe to right there. And now I'll take this tighten slider and drag it into the left to really tighten up on that selection. And I'll take it to like right here. See how it's really targeting these shadow areas down in here and on this mountain. The light areas are the ones that'll really get the strongest burning effect. I'm not going to touch the brightness slider. I'll leave it where it is. I'll output this to a burn tool. Now the burn tool has a left and a right side. I'm going to use the left side. I'll click right here and note that I'm painting through a selection. I have a 50% gray layer in the soft light blend mode. I'm painting through a selection. You could tell by the selection indicator. If I would have used the right side of that burn tool, I would have had a transparent pixel layer painting through a selection in the soft light blend mode. Either way, it works. And now with a soft edge brush, right now I'm at 10% opacity. I'm going to type my 3 key to get me to 30%. And what I want to do is just paint over this mountain area first, just to darken up these shadows on here. I may paint over here one more time, maybe over here and over here one more time. Now I'll change my opacity to 20%. I'll type my 2 key. And what I want to do is just paint over this area, like right up into here. And that is all I want to do. Now let's see a before and after. This is before the burning and this is after. And I really like that. Now, you can Option or Alt click on this eyeball right here, and you could see on that 50% gray layer where I burned through that zone mask selection. And that's why I used the 50% gray, just so I could show you that. Hold down your Option or Alt key and click on the eyeball again for that layer, and we'll see the image back. The next thing I want to do is decrease this saturation in this warm area, and I'll use a Hue Saturation Adjustment layer, but I need to target it. I'll use a color mask to do that. Come up to the multi-mask panel and click the color mask button. And we're going to click like right here to sample that color with the color picker and click OK. But let's go ahead and refine this adjustment. You see this button right here? This is a levels adjustment. If I double click it, we can get an auto levels and see how that lightens up. And then what I want to do is just lighten that up a little bit more to somewhere, maybe right there should be good. And now with the lasso tool, we can lasso around this area, or you could use the TK selection brush. Click this button right here on the TK selection brush. I'm going to click here one time, come over to the right side and hold my shift key down and click to get a straight line. Come down here and click once. So I'm going to come up and click here, click over here, click here. I'm holding that shift key down so I get the whole area and just paint in this little area right here. And then what we can do is click this button again, and you can see we've made that selection. This area I overshot here is not going to matter because it's dark. It's not going to get affected. And now we can click this button right here to mask the mask. And now we only have that section. We could give it some feathering if we want to, but I think we're going to be good. We'll just leave it at 0.1 pixels. no feathering, and click OK. And now all we need to do is output this to a hue saturation adjustment layer, so click this button. And now let's just decrease that saturation just a little wee bit. And I'll take the saturation adjustment and drag it to the left over to right there, -15. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. See, we just desaturated this area just a tiny bit, and I think that helps. The next thing I want to do is darken the top area of the sky from here, maybe down to right around in here. And to do that, we'll use a gradient tool. The first thing I want to do is hold my shift key down and click on this multiply button. This gives us a curves adjustment layer with a black hide all mask in the multiply darkening blend mode. It's called a multiply brush. You can use it for just painting on your image if you want to darken areas with a brush, or you can use it for applying gradients to your image. So the next thing I want to do is click on the gradient tool and then come up to the toolbar and click right here in this drop down and open up your TK gradients and click this button right here, white to black. Click linear gradient. Don't have reverse on. And then click like right here and drag down to this area right here. Hold your shift key as you're doing that and then release the left click of your mouse. Now that's too dark and we see this line here. So what we can do is click on the curves icon, that line goes away. Now the gradient's too dark, so what I like to do is take the layer opacity and take it the whole way off. And then just slowly build it up. Drag this to the right and stop where you think it looks good. And I think it looks good right there at 42%. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Yeah, and I like that. And now I want to close off the top of the sky, and I think I'll cheat a little bit here. What I'll do is duplicate this layer by clicking this button on the combo or CX panel. Now, I doubled up my gradient, but watch, I still have my gradient tool. Everything is set. All I want to do is click right here and drag down. It'll redraw a new gradient. Hold my shift key to constrain that to go straight. And I'll take it down to like right there, release the left click of the mouse. I don't want to see this line, so I'll click on the curves icon. And again, take the opacity for the layer the whole way off. And now let's build it up slowly and stop where we think it looks good. And I think it looks good right here at 29%. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. And now we're on to the last step. The last thing I want to do is add a basic vignette. So if your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button. On the combo or CX panel, click your vignette button. A Gaussian blur dialog comes up. Just click OK. I never changed the radius. Now, I don't want the vignette getting into the darkest areas of the image. So what we'll do is come to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend Diff button, and then click this button for No Darks 2. Look at the edge up here where the vignette is. When I uncheck gray, you can see this is before Edit Blend Diff, and I'll check it back on. This is after. See how that protects the darkest areas? And I think the vignette's a bit strong, so I'll come to the layer opacity for the vignette and click right here. And I'm going to drag this back to right there, 20%. Now let me shut off the vignette. Here's before and here's after. Just a nice subtle vignette. Now that's the complete edit. Now let's see where we started from. On the combo or CX panel, look for this button right here. It's the before after button. Give it a click. We started out here. I'll click it again and we end up here. So I'm really happy with the way this edit turned out. I do hope you download the image and the PDF notes and give this edit a try. Well, there it is, everyone, and I really hope that you enjoyed today's TK Friday full edit. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and share it with your friends, and if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon, click all so that you'll receive all notifications, and then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.